Sniffing techniques. And in sniffing techniques, we have now DNS poisoning techniques. This DNS poisoning is a technique that tricks a DNS server into believing that it has received authenticated information, when in reality it has not. It result in substitution of a false IP address at the DNS level, where web servers are converted into numeric IP addresses. And it allows attacker to replace IP addresses entries for a target site on a given DNS server with IP addresses of the server he or she controls. An attacker can control fake DNS entries for the server containing malicious content with same name as that of the target server. These are the different DNS poisoning techniques are there, like intranet DNS spoofing, which works in local network, where attacker do create the false DNS server in the network and redirect the clients to this false DNS server by using the different ARP spoofing or MAC changing attack. Then what? It can create the internet DNS spoofing also, where it is like a remote network. Like a attacker can create the DNS server on the internet environment, and then it will redirect the user to connect that DNS server by using the different attack. Like it can use a DSCP spoofing, attack. It can do a MAC ARP spoofing attack, and then it can redirect the queries to the fake DNS servers, and it will work like a proxy DNS server poisoning. It can make a DNS server, a proxy server, as a DNS, and also it can poison the cache of the DNS server, so that it will not check the DNS server first. When you poison the cache of the user's DNS cache, then user's machine, victim's machine, don't go to DNS server to check the query, it directly resolve it from the cache. So basically what it do here, attacker creates a fake DNS and then or a script, and it will poison the DNS server by using faking the cache. It will poison, and then victim will be affected by the DNS server. That means what? For this technique you must be connected to the local network. First is what? Intranet DNS spoofing. In this technique you must be connected to the local network, that is LAN, and be able to sniff the packets. So it works well against the switches with ARP poisoning the router. So when we have done the ARP poisoning, we are already in the middle of the traffic. Then what we can do, this spoofing attack also. So what happened here, when we are in the middle, by using this ARP spoof or DNS spoof command, we do what? Attacker poison the router, and then it redirects the DNS request to his own machine. So whenever users or victim send any request for any DNS query, it will go to attacker machines, and what attacker will do, it will give the response of fake websites. So if any website it is going which is important for that victim, so it will give the fake website address, and attacker has already created that fake website on the particular server, even in that own server or even in the internet, and that server is having the fake website. Now when the user goes to that fake website, it will do what? That fake website logs all the information and then redirect the user to the real site. So the user will not know that somebody has taken the information from him. It will give an error, that something went wrong, and then it will redirect it to the real site. So the victim feels like something went wrong on the site, and now it is reloading the page, but actually it is what? It is the fake site which is getting all the information from the user and redirect the user to the real site. So this is what it is also called phishing attack. So by using the DNS spoofing, attacker can do what? It can do the phishing attack on the user. We can use this also. It can use the proxy server DNS poisoning. Attacker sends a Trojan to this user's machine, Rebecca's machine, that changes her proxy server setting in Internet Explorer to that of the attackers and redirect to the fake website. Simple, it will do what? It will create the Trojan and it will infect the Trojan, infect the victim machine by the Trojan which changes the proxy setting of that user. And proxy setting, that means whatever the traffic it will send from that browser, it will go to that proxy server first. Now proxy server's IP is of the attacker's IP. So attacker make that its own machine's IP as a proxy server and infect this victim by changing its proxy setting. Now what happened? This user, if it sends any request for the website, it will go to the attacker's machine which is running the proxy server, and it do what? It will redirect the user to the fake website, and then again it will log the information and then redirect it to the real site. Then DNS cache poisoning. DNS cache poisoning refers to altering or adding forged DNS records into the DNS resolver cache so that a DNS query is redirected to the malicious site. If the DNS resolver cannot validate that the DNS responses have come from an unauthoritative sources, it will cache the incorrect entries locally and serve them to users who make the same request. So basically what happens when you query any name from the DNS server, first your machine checks its own cache, then it will check the host file, and then it will send the request to the DNS server, your internal DNS server or an internet DNS server. Then that DNS server will do what? It will also check the cache. These DNS servers also have a cache. So what they do? They check the cache whether there is any information about that name or not, and if the information is not there, then it will do the query for it, and it will do the query it will do the recursive query, and it will go to root DNS, top level DNS, and then other DNS, and then finally it gets the records of that authoritative DNS server. Remember, authoritative, that means the domains or the DNS server which has that domain file, has that zone file. So it will go to that DNS server, and then that DNS server IP it will get, and then it will send the request for that DNS server. Now that DNS server says that I am the authoritative DNS server, and that it will respond with that IP address of the real website. Now attacker do what? It directly sends the response without any request. It directly sends the response of fake website. It actually send the request of fake website. That means it created the fake website and it sends the request reply directly response of the DNS to this DNS server. So it will cache that record here. Remember, when the DNS server do the query, so it will cache that record here, so that the other user asks for the same record, it will not do the whole query, it will just response from the cache. So attacker do what? It will craft the response directly. It will directly send the response to the DNS server, and then it will say that facebook.com is this server, is the facebook.com, and this is the IP of that facebook.com DNS server. It creates the raw DNS server in his machine, and that DNS server IP it will send as a response to this the DNS server which it wants to infect. Now this DNS server will cache that record here in its own DNS cache, that this is the DNS server for Facebook site, facebook.com. Now anyone who asks for the record, if suppose anyone who is trying to access the facebook.com, so it will go for it will have a record in the cache, so it will not go for the query. The DNS server will do what? It will not go for the query because it is having a record in the cache. So what it will do? It will send the query to not the authoritative server, it will send the query to the fake raw DNS server of the attacker, and that DNS server will give the IP address of the fake site. It will not give the IP address of the real site. It will give the IP of the fake site. Then again the user will go to the fake site. The fake site will log all the information of that user and then redirect that user to the real site. This is what cache poisoning. Now this can only happen when the DNS server is not validating that responses. because when the response comes, whether it is coming from the authoritative server, authoritative source, or either is it coming from non-authoritative source. Now authoritative source, that means the source which has the actual zone file, and non-authoritative, that means it is not having an actual zone file, it is having a uh, it is having a reference of that zone file. So that means it is not a authoritative response. So if it is not validating the authoritative response from the authoritative source, then it can cache, it can poison the cache, it can change the cache. How to defend against this DNS spoofing? First, resolve all DNS queries to the local DNS server. Make sure that your queries are not going outside of your local network, because maybe attacker creates the fake server on an internet and then it is redirecting your queries to that internet DNS server instead of your local DNS server. So you can do this by configuring the firewall that will not send any port 53 DNS queries outside of your network. Then block DNS request from going to external server. That is what resolve all DNS server queries to local DNS servers. Then this we can do by configuring the firewall to restrict external DNS lookup. So we can do that by configuring the firewall to restrict the external DNS lookup. That means any query, if any client sending the query to external DNS server, then it will be blocked on the firewall. But only our local DNS server can go to the outside on internet and do the DNS lookup. No other user, no other user machine can go to internet or external for DNS lookup. We have to configure the firewall like this. Then we should implement the IDS and deploy it correctly. IDS means intrusion detection system. This is not a firewall, but it is more than a firewall. It actually detects all those kind of attack which attacker can do. Then implement DNS security, so that your queries and responses will be secure from your authenticated users to your authenticated DNS server. So your clients will not go to the fake DNS server and do the query. Configure DNS resolver to use a new random source port for each outgoing query. You can do this like choosing the random source port every time, and that you have to configure it manually. Then restrict the DNS recursive service, either full or partial, to authorized users. That means only authorized users or authorized DNS server can do the recursive query. Not all the users machine and not all DNS servers will go to recursive query. Now recursive query, that means going out of the internet on the internet zone to root DNS server to top level DNS servers to find out the records. Then use DNS non-existent domain rate limiting. Now what that means, non-existent, that means the name which is not existing in the DNS records. So those domains records which we don't have in our DNS server, so we should limit those queries so that it will not go for every name, it will not go for the internet. Secure your internal machines. That is very important, securing your internal machine by using the firewall or host-based firewalls. Now sniffing tools, we have different sniffing tools, we have lots of sniffing tools. We have Wireshark here. This Wireshark, it lets you capture and interactively browse the traffic running on a computer network. Wireshark uses WinPCAP to capture packets. So it can only capture the packets on the network supported by WinPCAP. So it captures live network traffic from Ethernet, IEEE 802.11 network, PPP, SDLC, ATM, Bluetooth, USB, token ring, frame relay, FDDI network. It supports all of the available network. Capture files can be programmatically edited via command line also. A set of filter for customized data display can be refined using a display filter also. So it can do lots of things, and also the good thing is that the Wireshark is free. it is free to use also. This is a snapshot of the Wireshark capture packets, where we can see the passwords, we can see the different ways of things, different data. Then we can use the display filters also. So display filters are used to change the view of packet in the captured files. Display filtered by protocol, for example, type the protocol in the filter box, ARP, HTTP, TCP, UDP, DNS, IP. So it will filter the traffic based on the protocols. We can monitoring the specific ports. So we can give this like TCP dot port is equal to whatever the port number you want. IP addresses is equal to, you can mention for the machine, or you can put IP address is equal to and the port number you want to monitor. You can filter the multiple IP addresses by using IP ADDR is equal to this or IP ADDR is equal to this. Then filtering by the IP address, normally one IP address, IP.ADDR. You can use other filters like based on destination IP and frame length, then IP address this and ICMP and frame number. Then you can use this source based on the source IP address and destination IP address. Then we have some additional filters also for TCP flag reset. We display all TCP resets packet UDP containing this scans a filter for the hexa values of these at any offset. HTTP dot request displays all HTTP get requests. Display analysis transmission, display all transmissions in the trace. Display all TCP packets that contains the word traffic. When you give TCP contains traffic, you can give this not ARP or ICMP or DNS, that means marks out ARP, ICMP, DNS or other protocols and allows you to view traffic of these of your interest. So there are lots of filters we can use to scan the network, sniff the network and manipulate the data what you see. Now we have other tools also like Steel Central Packet Analyzer. This analyzer provides a graphical console for high-speed packet analysis. But remember, these are not free like Wireshark. We have TCP dump, WinDump. TCP dump is available in Linux. This TCP dump is a command line interface packet sniffer which runs on Linux and Windows. Windows it will run as WinDump. Linux it runs as TCP dump. So runs on Linux Unix system and this runs on Windows system. So it is by default available in this tool, this operating system TCP dump, and with this you can monitor the network also, but it is command line. Then you have OmniPack Network Analyzer. This sniffer displays a Google map in a OmniPack capture window showing the location of all the public IP addresses of captured packets. This feature is a great way to monitor the network in real time and show from where in the world the traffic is coming. So it also shows you the location. Then we have Observer. This provides a comprehensive drill down into network traffic and provides back in time analysis, reporting, trending, alarms, application tools and route monitoring capabilities also. But these are not free normally. We have Sniffomatic. This is a network protocol analyzer and packet sniffer that captures network traffic and enables you to analyze the data. Same as the other tools, it captures IP packets on your LAN without packet loss, monitor network activity in real time, filters to show only the packets you want, real time checksum calculations, save and load capture packets, traffic charts with filter info also. Then we have RSA Net Witness Investigator. This captures live traffics and process packet files from virtually any existing network collection collection devices like any devices. Then we have many other tools which we can use, and among that you have EtherCap also. EtherCap is available in the Kali Linux, which we can use to do the man in the middle attack also. Then we have the packet sniffer tools for mobile also. We have WI.cap Network Sniffer Pro, this mobile network packet sniffer pro, root ARM droids. Now for this, we have FaceSniff also, is an Android app that allows you to sniff and intercept session profiles over the Wi-Fi. Now for using this on mobile, your mobile must be rooted. If you are using the Android devices, then your mobile must be rooted. Otherwise, it is having a limit and it will not do much thing. For using this, your mobile devices must be rooted. Rooted, that means it must have a root access. Otherwise, you will not get all of the options. Now, how to defend against the sniffing? This is what the countermeasures. For defending the sniffing, we should use the HTTPS instead of HTTP to protect usernames and passwords. Remember, we should protect the protocols which is not secure by default. So instead of HTTP, we should use HTTPS, which do the encryption technique, which uses the encryption technique to secure the data. So basically, to provide the security for the sniffing, the main thing is to use the encryption technology, so that if the hacker able to sniff the data, it should not see what is going on exactly, because all the data will be encrypted. Then use switch instead of hub, as switch delivers data only to the intended recipient. So normally don't use hub. Nowadays we don't use hub, everyone uses the switches. Then use SFTP instead of FTP for secure transfer of files. FTP, when we use, it is not secure, but instead of FTP we can use SFTP. SFTP uses the secure channel between your client machine to server machine, and it creates the secure channel by using the SSH. It uses the SSH secure tunnel to create the SSH secure tunnel from the client to FTP server. Otherwise, FTP protocol by default is not secure, and you can see whatever you are typing, like if you are giving username and password, that will also be seen. It can be also seen on the man in the middle and can be seen in the sniffing tool. Use PGPN, SMIME, VPN, IPsec, SSL, TLS, Secure Cell, SSH, and one-time password. So use these security technology, these encryption technologies to secure your connection. Or even use one-time password also. Like when you use the authentication, when you give username and password and login, not only that method you use, with that you will use the one-time password also. That means two-factor authentication. So not only you need username and password, attacker don't need not only it needs the username and password, it also need the one-time password to hack your account, or to use your account, or to log in with your account and use that username and password which it has sniffed. Always encrypt the wireless traffic with a strong encryption protocol such as WPA and WPA2. That means when you are using the wireless network, as I said, the wireless networks are not secure. So always use WPA and WPA2. In wireless network, it works like a hub. So when attacker comes within the range of the wireless network, it can sniff all the packets. But to secure that, you have to use the strong encryption protocol, that is WPA or WPA2, so that even the attacker gets the data, it will not able to decrypt the data, or it will not able to understand the data. Retrieve the MAC directly from the NIC instead of OS. This prevents the MAC address spoofing. Then use tools to determine if any NICs are running in the Prometheus mode. Prometheus mode, when the NICs are running on the Prometheus mode, that means it is trying to do the sniffing. So there are some tools which can detect it, which can detect that which interfaces are in your network runs on the Prometheus mode. How to detect the sniffing? Now you will need to check which machines are running in the Prometheus mode, because when you want to sniff the data, when an attacker wants to sniff the data, it will use the network interface as a Prometheus mode. Now Prometheus mode allows a network device to intercept and read each network packet that arrives in its entirety. That means it opens the packet on the data link layer. Now we can do that by using we can do that by running the IDS and notice if the MAC address of certain machine has changed. Example, router's MAC address. IDS can alert the administrator about suspicious activities. IDS means the Internet Intrusion Detection System. Then we can use the network tools like the such as Captcha Network Analyzer to monitor the network for the strange packets. Like when the attacker try to do the ARP spoofing attack, it will send lots of packets to the victim machines to poison the cache of the victim machine, and it will keep sending the packet continuously. So we can detect that by using these network analyzers, and it enables you to collect, consolidate, centralize and analyze traffic data across different network resources and technologies. Then we have the sniffing detection techniques also. First is a ping method. Now we'll send a ping request to the suspect machine with its IP address and incorrect MAC address. Now the Ethernet adapter rejects it as the MAC address does not match, whereas the suspect machine runs the sniffers respond to it as it does not reject the packets with the different MAC address. That means because the attacker machine is working as a Prometheus mode, that means it will accept the packet even if the MAC address not belong to that attacker machine. So we can detect that it is working on Prometheus mode or not. So we'll send the ping request with the fake MAC address. So what happens if it is running on the Prometheus mode? It will accept the packet and send the response. It will send the reply. Because IP address is that machine, IP address is that machine which we suspect, but the MAC address is not that. So it will accept the packet from the MAC address and it will send the reply. But if it is not running on the Prometheus mode, then it will not accept the packet. The packet will be discarded on the data link layer. Because data link layer, it will only accept the packet on the data link layer when the MAC address belong to that machine. Otherwise it will not accept that packet. But when you run when you run your machine as a Prometheus mode, then it will accept all those packets whether it is belong to your machine or not. So we can detect this, we can detect the sniffing by using this ping method. If we suspect some user is doing the sniffing, then we can detect by using the ARP method. In ARP method, what we do here, remember only a machine in Prometheus mode, that is here in this image, machine C, caches the ARP information, IP and MAC addresses mapping. That is what this machine. Now a machine in Prometheus mode replies to the ping message as it has correct information about the host sending ping request in its cache. Now reset of the machine will send ARP probe to identify the source of ping request. That means again when you send the source fake MAC address for the destination, it will send no reply when you send non-broadcast ARP, non-broadcast ARP. You will not get any response. It will get reply from only that machine which is doing into Prometheus mode. Then we have a method for detecting the sniffing is DNS method. Now most of the sniffers perform reverse DNS lookups to identify the machine from the IP address. Reverse lookup, that means forward lookup means name to IP resolution, and reverse lookup means name to IP to name. So because the sniffer is getting the packets and it is sniffing the packets, so it will get IP address of the all machine. Now it wants to show the attacker the name of the machine. So it will do it will do the reverse lookup to the DNS and try to get the name of that machine which it is sniffing. So when it sniffs the data, it try to get the name of that IP from the DNS. So machine generating the reverse DNS lookup traffic will be most likely running a sniffer. So we can analyze the DNS server log and we can check that who is doing the reverse lookup. So by checking this, the machine which is doing the reverse lookup might be, or most likely it is running a sniffer. So how we can detect which network interface is running on Prometheus mode? So there is a tool called PromQuery UI. This is a security tool from Microsoft that can be used to detect network interfaces that are running in Prometheus mode. So we can detect which interface in our network is running in Prometheus mode. Then we can use Nmap also. We can use Nmap as NAC script allows you to check if a target on a local Ethernet has its network card in Prometheus mode. Command to detect NIC in Prometheus mode is Nmap and mention the script. -- script is equal to sniffer detect, and then you will mention the target IP address or range of the IP addresses. So it will detect that whether any machine is there which is using the Prometheus mode or not. Now for doing the penetration testing. Sniffing penetration testing is used to check if the data transmission from an organization is secure from sniffing and interception attack. Sniffing pen testing helps administrator to audit the network traffic for malicious content, discover the raw DHCP or DNS server in the network, implement security mechanisms such as SSL and VPN to secure the network traffic, discover the presence of unauthorized network devices. Then identify the raw sniffing application in the network. So for doing the sniffing pen testing, we'll start with performing the MAC flooding attack. Then perform the DHCP starvation attack, perform raw server attack, perform ARP spoofing, MAC spoofing. Then perform IRDP spoofing, perform DNS spoofing, perform cache poisoning, perform proxy server DNS poisoning. Then document all the findings and send it to the authorized person. Now I will show you how we can do the ARP poisoning attack and can get the sniffing tool, how those sniffing tools work. Let's see how those sniffing tools works. Now what I'm going to do, this is my Windows 10 machine here, and there is a wireless router which is accessing from here. I'm accessing the internet. Now what I will do, I will poison the cache of ARP cache of this Windows 10, that this router's MAC address is this Kali's MAC address. That means IP will be router's IP and MAC address will be my Kali machine's MAC address. So any data this Windows 10 wants to send to this router, it is going to send to me. Then I will, at the same time, I will poison this router also with this Windows 10's IP and my Kali Linux IP, my Kali Linux MAC address. So it will have the IP address of Windows 10 but MAC address of my Kali Linux in the cache of ARP. Now when it wants to send any data to this Windows 10 machine, it will send to me. So first let's do this. Let's check internet is working here or not. So I'll go to the browser and try to check some site, is it internet is working or not here. Okay, I will try, okay, whether this Amazon is working or not. Okay, internet is working. I'm connecting the sites. That means my Windows 10 machine is directly going through the router. Now what I will do, I will poison the cache. Now on the Kali machine, what I will do, I will run command ARP spoof from my Kali Linux interface to these two targets. So my Windows 10 machine's IP is 155 and my router's IP is 1. So I will spoof, I will say the router that this 155 MAC address is my MAC address, and I will say 155 Windows machine that MAC address of router is my MAC address. So first I will do this. Now it is keep sending these packets to ARP responses to ARP reply to this machine, this router, this Windows 10 machine. Then I will open new browser, new command line. I will not cancel this. I will let this run. Then here also I will run sudo ARP spoof from my interface to this gateway for this IP. Now their ARP caches are poisoned. Now they know the fake MAC address of my machine. Now let's see whether the internet is working or not. Now we are on Windows 10 machine. I will try to check whether this is working or not. So I will try to click on some link. So what happened here? Internet is not working now in Windows 10. It was working previously. Now it is not working. Now why it is not working? Because if you check the cache of ARP, it has been poisoned. This is the router's IP address and this is the MAC address of that router, but it is actually same as the Kali Linux MAC address because we have poisoned it. So what is happening here? This Windows 10 sending the request for the router, but the request is going to the Kali Linux. And what happening here? The request is dropping here because it is not a router, so it is not giving the response because the IP is what? The router's IP 192.168.0.1. So when the packet enters to the Kali Linux, it reaches the network layer and it is dropped on the network layer. It is not getting any reply. Same thing happened if the router send any packet to Windows 10, it will come to the Kali Linux, but it will not go back any reply. It will also drop on the network layer. Now what we'll do here on the Kali Linux, we will enable the packet forwarding, IP forwarding here in Kali Linux. So when we enable the IP forwarding, this Kali Linux will start working as a router. And it will do what? It will start forwarding the packages which is not belong to this Kali Linux IP. So it will work like a router and it will start forwarding those packets which is not destined to this Kali Linux. Now how to enable the forwarding in our Kali Linux? So in the Kali Linux, we have to enable the boolean for the forwarding. We can do that by using the sysctl command, W for writing, and this is the boolean location. By default it is set to 0, will set to 1, and that one needs root permission actually. So I will use sudo. Now it is set to 1. Now our Kali Linux will start working as a router and start forwarding the packets. So it will forward the packet from Windows machine to router and router's packet to Windows 10, but it is going through the Kali Linux. Now let's check the internet on Windows 10 machine. So it was not working here, so I will refresh again, and now we can see that it is start working again, but it is not going directly, it is actually going through the Kali Linux. Now because it is going through the Kali Linux, that means now Kali Linux is now in between the router and this Windows 10 machine, and now we can do those other attacks also. because now we are in the middle. Now we can start the sniffing tools, and then we can monitor whatever we want to monitor, and we can capture all the data. Now here on the Kali Linux, I can start the monitoring tools. We have the command line tool TCP dump. This TCP dump is a Linux version of WinDump. We have in Windows we have WinDump, and in Linux we have TCP dump command. So when you enable this with the interface ID, it will start sniffing all the packets which is going and coming from this interface, and you can see the traffic which is going from this machine. It is actually the traffic from that Windows machine to the server, or to the router and to the internet, and you can see it is going and asking for different things. We have multiple different options with TCP dump to save this traffic, save this data, and then we can analyze the data later. Stop by Control C. And also we have other tools like Wireshark. We have network sniffer tools like these, Yersania, also EtherCap, and also we have Wireshark. It needs also root permission. So this is Wireshark. It shows all these interface which you have. So I want to sniff this. This is my Ethernet port. So I select this and I will say start. Now I can see all the requests and responses from those machines. It is from Windows 10 machine to the router, and router to the Windows 10 machine. It is live recording, it is live capturing, and it is showing here all the packets. In this side it will show you in the layer wise. In the layer wise, like the layer of TCP/IP layers, we have 4 layers. So you can see these 4 layers here, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you select any data, you can see those layers here. Then here you can apply the filters to see the specific data. Like I can say IP dot ADDR is equal to 192.168.0.155, and now I can see only the IPs, only the data which is coming and going from this IP. And I will say HTTP. No HTTP is going on, or other filters, and it gives you help also. When you type the filter, it gives you help also. All TCP data, all UDP data. I can do this also. IP source is equal to 192.168.0.155, and IP dot destination host is equal to 192.168.0.1. Okay, there is no data there, or I should go for only destination. TST is equal to 192.168.0.1. So these kind of filters we can apply on it. Now it will show, let me stop first. Now you will see any data here. You capture one, you select one, then you can see the layer wise detail here. You can see the layer wise detail here, like this is the physical layer, Ethernet layer, this is the proto application layer, then this is the physical layer, and then what, this is the Ethernet layer, this is the internet layer, and this is the transport layer. You can see here source port, destination port, stream, TCP, sequence number, acknowledgement, flags, all the details of the transport layer. You can see sequence number, time sequence, timestamps. And in the internet layer, you can see the source IP, destination IP, you can see source, destination IP, you can see other informations like IP ID, flags. Then in the Ethernet layer, you can see source and destination MAC addresses and other information about the MAC. Then you can see the physical information here, this frame information here, interface ID and all this. Then here you will see the packets in hexadecimal, in hexa view. Now I will start again and let's see how the secure unsecure protocols are there, like FTP. If you try to do the FTP communication, it is very unsecure. So I will start it again, and I will start without saving, and I will go to Windows 10. Now on Windows 10, I will try to connect the FTP server. FTP, this is the FTP server. It is asking for the username and password, so I will give the username and the password, and I am logged in successfully. Now what I have sent the username and password through the FTP. Now this FTP is not secure. It is not secure, so it has been logged by the sniffer. Now here on the Kali Linux, I will try to see, first I will stop it, it's too much recording. So I will do what, I have to search it, or I can filter it. I will say IP dot destination is equal to 192.168.0.150. So I can see those packets which is destined to this machine, and in that we can see the protocol. And FTP data, and here it is. Here you can see the FTP data, FTP. Now to check this, you can see this is what the request. So I will go for right click and I will say follow TCP stream. So it will show you the whole stream from request to reply, and here it shows you in text format. And now you can see here what we have. We can see the username, and also we can see the password here, ABC. So it is because the FTP is not secure by default. It is doing what, plain text communication. Just like this FTP, we have SMTP, Telnet, and those other protocols which is not secure. They do the, by default they do what, they do the plain text communication. Telnet, SMTP, POP3. So when you do the communication with those protocols, they are not secure. So we should use the secure protocol like securing the FTP. Don't use the FTP, instead of use SFTP. Instead of using this FTP tool to connect the FTP server, we should use SFTP. But that SFTP works on Linux environment. It does not works here. Or maybe let me try SFTP. It is available now in Linux, in Windows also. This client tool is available in Linux. So I can try this SFTP. To the server. Now it is refusing the connection from the server. Now why it is refusing the connection? Because it is trying to connect the server by using the port number 22. Port number 22 of SSH. This SFTP is part of the SSH protocol. SSH OpenSSH toolkit. So OpenSSH toolkit is available in now Windows machines, also in Windows 10, but as a client tool. We need a server there. So in this 192.168.0.150, it is actually Windows server. It is not a Linux server. This one is available on the Linux server. So if you are using the FTP from the Linux server, so you can use the SFTP to create the secure connection. And if anyone detect that, if anyone sniffs that, it will not able to see, like we have seen right now, in clear text username and password. So Windows is giving the client tool, but the server tool is not available in Windows machine. It is available only on servers, Linux servers. So it uses SSH secure tunnel to create the secure connection from server to client. So we should always use the secure connection instead of this unsecure FTP connection, or not use HTTP. Always use HTTPS, which is secured by the lock, secured by the certificate, like this. This is not HTTP, it is HTTPS, and it is secure by the certificates. And we can see it is secure, connection is secure, and it is secure by the valid certificate. But still we can see the certificate also, but still we are in the middle and we can see the packets, but we can't see what is exactly going on. For example, is it started? I'm starting the sniffing again here, and I've started sniffing again here. Now I am in this Windows 10 machine, and because this is secure connection, now suppose if I try to log into this account, I go to sign in. Now even the attacker is in the middle, but still it can't see what we are typing here. So for example, if I say this is my username, oh, it's a problem. Okay, I will use my real email address. Maybe I'm trying to use my fake. Okay, then password. Now even the sniffer is there and it is sniffing it, but it will not able to detect it. Now here we have sniffed all these data, but still we are not able to detect. Now we should put a filter to get the exact value which we want. So I put the filter here that saying TCP contains Amazon. So all the TCP connection which is going for the Amazon are coming from the Amazon. Now these are the all connections, and you can see here it is like using TLS security. It is saying server hello sir and client hello. It is sending these packets. but there is no option you can see the passwords here. If suppose I try to follow the TCP stream, so what we are seeing here is actually the encrypted one, which is not understandable. You cannot see where is the username and password because it is what encrypted. There is a option for follow the there is an option to follow the TLS stream also, but you are not able to see anything plain text. So because it is secure, because it is using HTTPS, we can't see this username and password. If it is not using HTTPS, then we can easily see the username and password, which is, or any data we can see easily, because it is not secure. Then whatever you capture here, you can do what? You can save them. You can go to file and you can save these whatever you have captured as a pcap file, or you can save it as a pcap ng. You can save as TCP dump style. You can save as nanosecond nanosecond pcap, TCP dump style, modified dump style, and different styles of pcap file. And wherever you want, you can save it here. You will just name it, what name you want to give, and then you can save it. So you can do analyze you can do analyze it later. Now I'm stopping these ARP's attacks, ARP spoofing, because this was working continuously. So I'm stopping this. So I'm stopping this ARP poisoning. And I will change the boolean also to go back to 0, so that it will not work as a forwarder. Okay, now if we want to detect the machine which is working as a Prometheus mode or running the sniffer, so we can use the SNMP Nmap also. We can use a different graphical tool also. So I am using this Nmap command with this script, sniffer detect, against this IP, which I doubt that might be using the sniffer. Now what happened here, when I run this, it shows it do the by default job, which is scanning. It scans and shows what are the ports are there open. Now it's showing this result of this script. It is saying that likely in Prometheus mode. That means this one is working as a Prometheus mode, and it is saying that this is all enabled. That means this machine is working as a Prometheus mode. Let's say we'll try other machine which is not working as a Prometheus mode. Now we can say it is saying unknown. That means this one is not working as a Prometheus mode, but the machine which we scanned here, it is working as a Prometheus mode. It is saying that this is likely running a Prometheus mode. That means it is running a sniffer. And this is the machine which is actually running the Wireshark sniffer here. So I will stop this. I will close this. And then I will check again. So I will check again, same machine. Okay, the interface is still on Prometheus mode, that need to be restarted. After that it is going back to the normal mode. But we have stopped the sniffer now. This is how we can detect the sniffer also, by using the Nmap script, or then we can use the graphical tool. So this is how the sniffer works, and by using this, for using the sniffing, attacker must be man in the it must come in the middle of the source and destination. So for doing that, man in the middle attack. So for doing the sniffing, attacker has to do the man in the middle attack.